I'm here to talk to you today about how to build and run a business in the human cloud. You all know that there is kind of this cloud revolution have been going on for a few years now. Everything seems to be going into the cloud. We use Skype to communicate with, we use Box and Dropbox to both share and store files. We use QuickBooks to manage our finances. We also use Salesforce to keep track of our customer activities. But there is another cloud revolution going on, and that is what we in Elance call the human cloud. And the human cloud is something I'm going to touch upon a little bit later. So what I'm going to talk about today is really how you can leverage online freelancers to build and run your business. But we need to explain the concept of the human cloud first. So the human cloud is a huge, large pool of rated and tested talent in all disciplines that can be done remotely, whether that is programming, it could be design, it could be content writing, it could be social media marketing, etc. Literally everything where you don't have to sit in the office of the employer. On the other side of the human cloud, you have the businesses. Businesses of all sizes in all industries come to the human cloud to explore what kind of opportunities they have that they can actually work with online workers residing in countries, cities, and villages all across the world. And players like Elance, online work platforms, is the facilitator, is the connector between the contractors or the freelancers on the one side and businesses on the other side. Businesses come to Elance to search and to find freelancers. Sorry? A little bit of technical detail there. Where were I? Yeah. So Elance is the player that facilitates the collaboration between those two parties. They find freelancers, they collaborate and communicate with them, and at the end of the day, they also pay them. So what is Elance? Elance is an online work platform. We've been in the market for around about 12 years now, but in the current shape and the format, we've only been around since 2007. We're a Silicon Valley-based company, like most other global internet companies, but we took our first steps outside the US 1.5 years ago when I joined the company. We are funded by big venture capitalists like Kleiner Perkins, NEA Venture, Firstmark, and Stripes Group, and we are really now in a growth phase. Just to give you a little bit kind of scope of the market we're talking about here. On Elance, you find today 1.8 million freelancers, rated and tested, ready to work for businesses all over the world. There are 156,000 businesses or clients that were active the last 6 months. 200,000 jobs were posted on the website the last 90 days. Freelancer clients residing in 180 countries across the world. Freelancer made $616 million on the platform the last 5-6 years. And a clear signal that the clients are happy working with online workers is that they have rated the contractors 4.8 in average out of 5 possible. So they're kind of literally happy with the work they're doing. There are 5 human cloud quick wins, as we call it, that businesses of all sorts can utilize and leverage online freelancers with. So one issue for most companies is that you are kind of bootstrapped. You have issues with your kind of cash reserve. You need to kind of think cost savings all the time. That is something that we can solve on the platform. You need talent. You need flexible talent, people that can work for you based on your needs. You can ramp up and down based on your own need and on demand. You need speed. You need to complete things quickly. You also need talent. You need kind of a diversity of talents. You need elephants that can dance. But you also would like to accomplish as much as possible within the day. Looking at the cost savings part first, 49% of our European clients say that they save 50% or more using online freelancers versus the traditional model of hiring people for the office. So a big number. 84% of the clients also say that they do believe that online work platforms like Elance will revolutionize how businesses and talents are working together in the future. Big numbers. I'd like to quote Antti Vilpanen, which is the co-founder and CEO of Arctic Startup, which is kind of the tech crunch of the Nordic and the Baltics. He said to me that We did a mock-up site on WordPress, and it would have been about 8 times more expensive in Finland than what it would be, and than what he actually paid on the Elance on the platform. Reason for this is that we have freelancers, we have talent all across the world, and they set the rates that they normally would charge somewhere between what they would charge on a local basis and what they could achieve in other markets around the world. So what we call the kind of the international rate. That means there is a kind of significant cost savings. For example, if you are to hire a market researcher, you can find somebody sitting in, let's say, using Romania as an example, or the Philippines. You can charge them, or you can pay them $4 or $5 an hour, which is literally nothing. You can also find a good programmer for $15 to $20 per hour. You can find a graphic designer for $10 to $20 an hour. So kind of good cost saving for flexible talent. The other part is really the ability to staff up and down based on demand, your own needs, what your business need. So the traditional labor models only give you the opportunity to have people in the office like 35, 40 hours per week, and it needs to be fairly regular. But if you use the model of online freelancers, you can kind of staff up and down based on your demand. Using a kind of web development project as an example, this is just kind of maybe a bad example, but let's say that in the beginning, you use a web designer to create a mock-up on the site that you would like to make. You also use a market researcher to do some market research on what your competitors are doing, what kind of platforms they have, what kind of features they have on the platform, etc. Then in week 2 or 3, you hire a web developer that is starting to program based on a mock-up, based on what you see in the market. And this guy is working for a few weeks. In middle into the project, you hire a mobile developer that is helping you out with doing the iPhone apps or the Android apps that you would like to have. And at the end of the project, you use a graphic designer then to kind of complete the design of the solution that is being developed. And you also hire a few translators so you can take your business global immediately. This is a little bit on how you can actually staff up and down on the platform. Get things done faster is a key message that we have. Looking into the survey again that we did among our European clients, 70% of the clients said that they save 50% or more time on hiring through these kind of platforms than what they do on the traditional models. Around 50% say that they save 50% in time doing the projects on these platforms than what they would do in a normal way. This is because they have easier access to talent, they can hire them up and down, they can bring them in when they need them. I'd just like to use an example on speed, which I encountered here the other day. I was speaking at a conference in Cologne in Germany called Pirate Summit. 1 week before the conference took place, I got a phone from the organizer saying that, Kjetil, you've forgotten to submit the advertisement that is going into the event booklet. And I thought that's a little bit of a problem because the designer that we are regularly using, she's in Romania and she's in Bulgaria, she's on maternity leave. I had to find a new one. I posted a job in Elance. 4 minutes after I posted it, I got the first proposals. 23 minutes later, I got the proposal from the contractor that I actually selected. 10:01, I asked him, are you available to start now and complete the job within a couple of hours? He said yes, so I awarded the job to him. A little bit forward back, at 12:13, he delivered the final product, this one. Great results. It took 3 hours and 34 minutes from I posted a job till I hired a person that I never met before until he delivered the work for $50. That was the pre-arranged price. So kind of speed like that is very, very hard to find in a local market when you actually have to go out and find a person that you never worked before, send him the file, send him the spec, and then get the work done. So amazing speed, I would say. So you need access to talent. Talent is a scarce thing. I talked to some headhunters here, like in Ankara and Istanbul, there is kind of a problem with getting the technical talent. Either they're not available or they charge too much. But we have identified a few roles or positions or people that you should hire for your online business, which actually makes sense. Web developer, clear thing. Mobile developer, virtual assistant. Kind of that's a new thing. Virtual assistant, what do? They can do some market research for you. They can schedule your flights. They can organize your calendars. They can do the transcriptions for you, whatever. Content writer, market researcher, social media marketeer. Everybody needs a social media marketeer these days. Graphic designer, you need somebody to do the design of your website, your marketing collateral, etc. Lead generation specialist, you need somebody to find your clients that can reach out to them. You might also need a lawyer for simple work, or an SEO expert, which most of companies are hiring these days. And here are 32 jobs you can use them for, just an example. Then is the thing about the global reach, kind of having 24/7 access to people. I'm just using an example. Let's say that you're a business here in Istanbul. During daytime, from 8 to 4, you do some speccing of a kind of product or a website or a feature that you would like to have done. So you use kind of the normal daytime to do that. But when you leave the office, you send that spec over to your programmer who sits in Bogota in Colombia. Because when you leave the office, this guy comes to work. So then he will actually start doing the work for you, do the programming, and in the afternoon, when he's leaving the work, he sends the files over to the designer who sits in Sydney, which again then is 8-9 hours on the other side of the world. He's doing his job during his work hours, and when he's leaving in the office in the afternoon, he ships them back to Istanbul. So in this way, you have been able to kind of limit something that normally would take 72 hours down to 24 hours, which is a pretty unique thing. And kind of that is the uniqueness of being able to utilize people, talent that sits all across the world. So if this is something for you, if this is something that you would like to utilize for your business, leverage online freelancer, it's a simple process, really, because it's post a job, receive proposals fairly instantly. You can see my example from the amazing speed slide where I received the first proposal after 4 minutes. You interview and rate them. For kind of bigger projects, we always recommend to interview the candidates or the contractors. For smaller projects, just look at the ratings, the feedback, the job history, the earnings they have on their profile, which is kind of pretty comprehensive information you find on the profile of the freelancers. Then you go and select them. You select the proposal, you negotiate the final rate. For fixed price project, you select the milestones, you define some milestones that you're going to work after. For other projects, define the number of hours, the duration of the work. Agree to terms, the job is active, and you start collaborating, communicating, and sharing files with the freelancer through the workroom on our platform, which is kind of make the whole process very simple and straightforward. At the end of the day, the hiring manager approves the work and pays the freelancer. As simple as that. To get started on this thing, which is a new thing for most businesses, kind of we're still in the early phase of something that is kind of becoming big. So we estimate the market this year to be around about $1 billion. Elance is doing between $250 to $300 million of that. You need to kind of start slowly. Don't kind of just jump into it. So we say, sit down with your team, brainstorm in what kind of jobs, what kind of tasks do we have internally in our organization that can be done remotely by somebody sitting in a different country, maybe speaks a different native language that you will never see except for through Skype or communicate through the phone. But just kind of identify those jobs or those tasks. Then you move into the cloud. But don't only jump into it with the bigger projects. Evolve your work. Start in the small, and then as more as you get comfortable with this way of working, you scale a project. So the first job you outsource might only be a translation job or some simple design of a collateral, but then at the end of the day, you might outsource the whole customer service operation of your business, your web development projects, etc. But scale it. Then we also say, don't only think cost savings. Think also hybrid. Think of an organization that is consisting of on-site workers and online workers. Like Elance, we are the true example of a hybrid organization. We have around about 100 people in our offices in Mountain View, California, and in Oslo, Norway. And then we have 200 people that we are working with through our own platform either on a regular basis or ad hoc basis. It gives us this unique flexibility. So hybrid organization is a key thing for us. Kind of at the end of the presentation, I would just like to introduce you to a case study, a company called Vivino, which is based in Denmark. They have developed this really cool app for storing all the kind of images of all the wines that you have been drinking, kind of the recommendation, you can share them with friends, etc. I actually just got some funding, I think, from one of the original Skype founders. Based in Denmark, one of the most expensive countries in the world, they faced several challenges. First of all, talent necessarily or mostly doesn't want to work for startups. They do want to work for the safe companies. They want to work for Carlsberg or Siemens or Bosch or Vattenfall. Labor is also very expensive in Denmark. So they couldn't afford, being a bootstrapped company, to hire on local Danish wages. That was impossible for them because then they will never be able to realize the whole business idea. And the third thing was also that they just needed this flexibility because they didn't need a designer all the time. They didn't need a programmer all the time, but they needed them in between. So they found a solution through Elance. And they have then developed an organization mainly consisting of programmers, but also SEO people from Vietnam in the east to California in the west, which gives them this unique flexibility that you saw with the example of the time zones. They can have affordable people, good quality talent, and they can work 24/7. So that was it. Any questions from the banker?
Once the labor establishes a connection with the job owner, how do you prevent people from circumventing you and go directly to each other?
So clearly one thing, so what we say is that when as a relationship established between a freelancer and a business on Elance, they need to, kind of our terms of service say that they need to kind of work and pay each other through the platform over the next 2 years. But we see that businesses and people that work together on much longer terms also, because the one thing is the fact that they have the ability to communicate and work through our platform, but also paying people from one side of the world to the other side of the world also kind of give you some challenges now and then, even if it's getting better and better. So they would actually like to stay themselves. Saying that, I think there is a lot of people that is circumventing the platform, but kind of really that is a little bit of the risk of being in this business. But we believe that our platform and the feature is so sticky that they will actually stay. Any more? Hi. Okay.
And we did lots of content management. But I'm kind of wondering, how does it work with words like coding? Like it may be very sensitive that like all your software code can be open to this person, or with like legal work.
Yeah.
There's lots of sensitive issues there. Does Elance take any liability or accountability for problems that may arise for such problems?
Yeah, so starting with the first thing, so the terms of service also stating that as soon as the client has paid the contractor for the work, the IP rights moves from the contractor to the client. That is one thing, and it's also the thing about the non-disclosure agreement, which is also in the service. So kind of that is kind of regulating it, but of course it's hard to follow up on it when you have people in two different sides of the world. But what we always say is that kind of don't give a big project, don't give the most sensitive project before you have established more of a long-term relationship with the contractor or with the programmer. So then you kind of move over. But again, it's also the thing that the freelancers working on Elance, they are depending on a good reputation. Because with a good reputation, you get more and more jobs. But if you do something that turns out to be wrong for the client, or at the end of the day, they break some kind of rules or the terms of service in the platform, then they will be punished or they will be terminated from our side. So we have the dispute team that goes in and negotiates between the two parties, and we also have the customer receive that is monitoring what is happening on the platform, and then we are terminating account or give them warnings if that kind of breaches some of the clauses. One more on the backside.
Hi, 2 questions. First, do I need to be a company to hire a freelancer, or as a person I can hire a freelancer?
You can hire, but in some cases there are can be some tax impacts on that. How it is here, I'm not sure, but it's mainly related to VAT. If you're based in Europe and you're hiring a European contractor, then there might be some VAT that you need to be charged as being a private individual rather than a business. But you can hire as a private person, not being a company.
Okay. Second, what kind of payment methods do we have?
So we have PayPal, credit cards, bank transfer. So really we offer
all
what is
standard methods.
Yeah, but we are expanding this. We're looking into how we can expand to facilitate and remove friction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then I think my time is over. Thank you very much for listening in. Have a great day here at Webratzi.